Prop 65, enacted in 1986, was a voter initiative that passed by a 2-to-1 margin. We don't have elections like that anymore, right? It requires businesses to notify Californians about significant amounts of chemicals in the products that they purchase in their homes or workplaces or that are released into the environment. Makes you wonder about the people who voted against it, but, you know, no judgment, no judgment. Now, the way it usually goes, and I mostly know this from reading newspapers, is at the very mention of something like a Prop 65, corporations will throw their own repetitive conniptions in which they complain that there's no way they can possibly reformulate their products to the widely divergent standards of every state. You know, can't do it. There needs to be one national standard, they will say. And then they proceed to reformulate their product to the strictest of all the state standards and sell that single formulation throughout the nation, which is definitely a good thing. So you see, in this way, it is actually laws like Prop 65 that have helped to set the national standard for removal of toxic chemicals from products throughout the United States. CEH asked me to travel to our nation's capital and to accompany Anja Miller, Tony Stefani, Carly Katz, and Jill Allen Murray into a series of 8 meetings with high-ranking congressional members and staffs during which we each said exactly the same thing over and over again over an 8-hour period. It was awesome. So I talked a little bit about California Prop 65, how organizations like CEH use it, and how Prop 65 and other state laws like it were really the yardsticks by which to measure how protected Americans are against toxic exposures, because national standards are not what have been protecting us. I went on to say that while it's great news that everyone, Democrats and Republicans, are in favor of raising national standards, if the bill under debate is allowed to usurp any state standards that are more strict, that it will actually, in practice, lower the standards for everyone. You know, national standards come up from here to there, right? But if the new law eclipses or preempts standards like Prop 65, and that's how it was originally written, then the effective protections actually decrease from here down to there. That's the little trick some members of Congress, along with the chemical industry lobbyists, have been playing, announce dramatically stricter national standards that go, and that actually in practice lower protections from everyone from here. And they seem to get it. I mean, some of them more than others, you know, makes perfect sense, some said. But more often than not, what we got were varying mixes of defeatism, cynicism, and exhaustion. My favorite was a representative from Pennsylvania. He listened to my impassioned plea about keeping today's little children safe from the kind of poisonings that I was subjected to. Then he turned to the others in the room and he asked, is he new around here or what? Then back to me, he said, you think anybody on the other side of this issue gives a shit about anything you just said? He went on for a while that way, explaining to us that the people who put that language you don't like in there, they're pretty smart too. That language you don't like is the only reason industry came to the table. They're not going to change that language. So now a few more congressional leaders than before realize the way things have been working and how much state laws and organizations like CEH have been protecting their constituents. It's work that absolutely has got to continue because, and this is the most stunning and troubling takeaway, the federal government ain't doing it. The EPA is not doing it. There was no dispute about that in our meetings. It's a given. The people of the United States and the federal government have been depending on state laws to keep the people safe. It's as simple as that. So don't be fooled when you see headlines appearing touting new, tougher national standards. It's a trick. Unless and until they insist upon and deliver national protections that match the toughest state standards in the country, the work CEH does is of absolute importance. It is essential.